Hey guys, I'm going to talk about some big mistakes a lot of expats are making when they come here. And I'm not talking about my mistakes, even though I've made a lot. I'm talking about mistakes other expats have sat down with me and told me that they were a big mistake. And let's start with the biggest one that I think affects guys the most. And that is they come here without having their pension or their Social Security checks deposited for the first time. I had a subscriber call me, told me he's coming to the Philippines, he's leaving in 2 months, and he wanted some advice on coming here. And I just told him, make sure you got your money right. Make sure you got all your ducks in a row, but make sure you have access to your money. What good is it having a lot of money if you don't have access to it, or you can't get hold of it? And he said he was filing for his Social Security, and the first check was going to be there in 2 months. He was going to wait for that check to get deposited, and then he was going to catch a plane over here. I said, good plan. Well, he got here. He contacted me a few times. Hey, I'm here. He was staying up in the Metro Manila area. He had a girlfriend up there. And then one day, I woke up, and I had all these text messages. Mike, do you have the number of Social Security? Mike, do you have the number of Social Security? He must have messaged me 4 or 5 times. What happened was, it was the day that you're supposed to get your Social Security check. I believe it was the second Wednesday of the month. And he didn't get his yet. And it was Thursday already. He didn't get it yet. And now he's in panic mode because he needs that money. And he just didn't ever receive his first payment. I gave him the numbers, gave him the number of Social Security up in Manila in the embassy, and told him you have to send them an email. I don't know how he recovered from this, how he got his money, but he was in panic mode. He was in panic mode. So if you're waiting for your first check, if you're going to live check to check, make sure you get that first check deposited. If you're going to be receiving a pension, you know, a 401 or from your place of work, some sort of pension, make sure the first check gets delivered. Make sure you can transfer that money easily so you have access to it. And the other thing a lot of guys are doing, they're coming here with not enough money in their pocket. They're getting off the plane, they got X amount of money in their pocket. They get to the airport, they catch their secondary flight, they arrive at their final destination, they check into the hotel, and now they're going to hit the ATM machine. Well, you're taking a chance if you don't have enough money to cover your first month. Because what if your card doesn't work? What if today you need money, it's a holiday, and the ATMs are empty? We've all that live here have been through that, where the ATM machines are out of cash on a Sunday because it's a holiday weekend. Maybe it was a payday weekend here in the Philippines, and the machines just weren't reloaded, on a Saturday night or a Sunday. So you have to wait for Monday, and if Monday's a holiday, you have to wait for Tuesday. And what if the machine eats your card? What if, for God forbid, it eats your debit card and you can't use it, or your credit card isn't taken anywhere? Make sure you have enough money to get through any hardships that you might have during the first month until you get all the ways that you can access money taken care of, and make sure that they're working for you. One piece of advice I will give you on this, transfer some money to yourself before you get on the plane. Go to World Remit or Wise or whatever method you're going to use, and send yourself $500 and have it as cash pickup in the Philippines. When you get off the airplane, after you get through customs and immigration and you're waiting for your second flight, go claim that money. Make sure that went through properly and you have no problem this time. That sort of guarantees you won't have a problem next time, even though there are no guarantees in life. Guys, if you've heard of some bigger mistakes or other mistakes you want to make me aware of, leave a comment, let me know. Another big mistake is renting. Guys get here to the Philippines, especially here into Dumaguete. They get off the plane or they get off the boat, and while they're on the ferry coming here, one guy contacted me and said, Mike, get me in touch with somebody who can find me a house to rent. I have my girlfriend with me. I don't want to be paying for a hotel. I don't want to be paying for an Airbnb. I just want to rent a house right away. Well, I gave him the contact number of a couple realtors and just let him go on his own. You know, he contacted one of them. They found him a house in Cebu. And he moved in, and I asked him, how did it all go? He says, great, we found a house. It's a nice house. I'm happy. Well, 2 weeks later, I invited him over to my house for dinner. And he came up, and there were a couple other couples, and I showed him the house I had. And he was really like upset. Wow, did I get taken on the house that I got? I pay way more than you, and I got far less than you have. Well, that is because he grabbed the first place he saw. That is because he was in such a hurry, he didn't give himself a chance. Get used to Dumaguete. Where in Dumaguete do you want to live? Do you want to live on the north part of the city? You want to live on the south part of the city? Or you want to live up by Valencia? You have to decide where you're going to live. So check into a hotel for a couple weeks while you're looking for the perfect house or apartment for you. Give it time. You know, don't grab the first place you find. And also, don't sign a long-term lease when you first get here. Oh my. You know, you sign a 1-year lease, maybe you're not going to like Dumaguete. Maybe the girl that you're with isn't the girl for you, and you're going to break up in a few weeks or a month. And then you're going to want to move somewhere else. Sign the shortest term lease as possible. Don't lock yourself down when you first get here. Give yourself some room to make adjustments to what you want to do, to change course. Maybe you don't like Dumaguete. Maybe Dumaguete life is too slow for you, or the girl you're with is not the perfect girl for you. And then you go online and you find a different girl in a different city and you want to go there. Well, you have to break that lease. You're going to lose that deposit. Who knows how that will affect you in the future, but it will affect you financially by losing your deposit. And also, if you do find the perfect place, and I hear this more than anything else, oh, I found a great place and they screwed me. And I go, well, how did they screw you? He goes, I went in, it was perfect, it was everything I wanted, and I said, I'll be back tomorrow to give you the deposit. Well, lo and behold, between the time you talked to him and you went back there to give him the deposit, somebody else came upon this property. And it's a perfect place for them, but they had money in the pocket. They were able to make the deposit right away. So when you're looking for a place to stay, make sure you have the funds in your pocket to put a deposit down and lock up the perfect place for you. Maybe you found a place, the rent is good, the furnishing's good, and they only want a 3-month lease. Well, you don't want to lose that. And you don't want to lose that if you have to go spend 1 day to get money for the deposit. Carry it in your pocket so when you do find the perfect place to live, you have the deposit for that place and you don't lose it. And this one I see all the time, and you've heard 100 stories about this one. Don't fall in lust with the first girl you meet. Don't fall in love with the first girl you meet. You know, a lot of guys get off the airplane and the first girl they met is the girl they've been dating online or talking to online or an online relationship. And then you can't shake her. Everywhere you go, she's going with you. And maybe she's not the girl for you. Once you meet her in person, she's not everything that you expected. Sometimes the anticipation of a girl that's beautiful, that's younger, that's fulfilling all your fantasies and all your needs, in person is not that girl. Is not that girl. Give yourself room to enjoy life. Give yourself some room, some space to go out and date a few women, to go out and experience what the Philippines has to offer, and especially in female companionship. You'll be surprised at how many girls are available to you on the dating scene when you first get here. If you have a long-term girlfriend and somebody you're really in love with and everything's great, this doesn't apply to you, but it applies to most guys coming. I remember when a big friend of ours came, and he went to meet 2 different girls that he talked to online. He liked both of them. He said, you know, either one was going to be perfect for him. Neither one worked out. They were both looking for a cash cow. They were both looking for someone to pay their bills. When they met, The girls were more interested in getting them to their family house where they could start helping rebuild the house or helping them finance their problems. Look around. Find the right girl for you. Don't grab the first girl you find. You know, just, I say, sow your wild oats a little bit. Play the field a little bit. And then settle down once you find the perfect girl for you. Give it time. Date a little bit. Even if you find one girl, date her for a while before she moves in. Make sure she's the girl for you. Your life will be much better if you do that. Another big mistake is people underestimate the cost of living here in the Philippines. They think the Philippines is super cheap. You know, when I told somebody online, they asked me how much the ferry was from DUMAGUETE to Tacloban. And I told them it was about 900 pesos. His reply was, how can anybody afford to go on the ferry? That's more money than they make in a week. Well, not everybody here is poor. And the thing is, not everything here is cheap. You know, everything costs money. A cup of coffee in a coffee shop is $2 to $3. And that's for one. There's no free refills. Don't underestimate how cheap things are. People tell you, hey, you can live in the Philippines on $500 a month. I don't think so. I'm sure somebody out there is scraping by, you know, living in a hut somewhere in the jungle on $500 a month. But man, did you work your entire life to live that cheap? Your rent's going to run you anywhere between, I'm going to say on the low end, $300, $250, $300 a month, up to the high end, $600, $700 a month. For a small house here in DUMAGUETE to a large house here in DUMAGUETE, or a small studio condo in Cebu City to a one-bedroom condo in Cebu City. Your food is expensive, especially in the big city. There's a big difference with the cost of living from a big city to a small town. It's just like back home. The cost of living in New York City and Chicago and LA is way higher than it is in Akron, Ohio, or in St. George, Utah. The farther away you get from the big cities, the more you get out in the country into the province, things are less expensive. But also the amenities are gone. The modern facilities are gone also. So you pay for a more modern house, the more modern facilities, you know, paying for a swimming pool, paying to have a gym nearby. These amenities, they cost, and they cost extra. Having a house with a hot shower, that's what you get in DUMAGUETE. I don't know if you're going to get that out in the deep province. People call DUMAGUETE the province, but man, there's some places that are so far deep in the province, and you can live cheap, but you're not going to have hot water. You're going to take bath in a bucket. You know, you're going to poop behind a tree. You can live super cheap, but if you want the amenities of living in a city, big city or small city, it's going to be expensive. It's not going to be more expensive than back home. Don't get me wrong. $1,000 a month back in the States, you can only do so much with, and you can do so much more with that here. You can live a better life with that here. I don't recommend a small budget, but if that's what you have, think it over, prepare, do your research. But don't underestimate that the cost of living here is so cheap that anybody can afford it. It can get expensive at times. And this is what I think is the number one mistake. Everybody comes here too fast-paced. They want everything to happen fast. They want instant gratification. You know, that's common back in the States, but it's not common here. Things take time. Don't compare shopping here in a grocery store with shopping back home. You know, with the express lane, you know, you go pick up all your groceries and you're right through the checkout, you know, in 5 or 10 minutes you're out of there. You go grocery shopping here, sometimes you can be in line for a half hour or more. You know, things are slow pace here. There's no big rush to get things done. People just, they get one thing done, then they clean up their area, and then they work on the next one and the next thing. They take their time. It's a slow progression. Just like paying your utility bills here. If you have to pay for them in person, you're going to be waiting in line. And these lines could take a long time. You need to adapt when you're here. You need to adapt to the culture and their way of life. Transportation, if you're living in Cebu, it's going to take hours to get from point A to point B, sometimes depending upon where you're going. Traffic is tough in the big cities. The city of Manila, I heard traffic is terrible there. I've never been there. Cebu City, certain hours the traffic is really bad, especially around that 3 o'clock in the afternoon time. School's letting out, work's letting out, traffic really backs up. You need to adapt to the Philippine time. And people, you don't give yourself enough time when you get here. I think you need at least 2 months here to adapt to the way they do things, to the pace that people live here, to society here as a whole, how friendly the people are. But everybody minds their own business, which is a great thing here in the Philippines. You can be over here at this table and talking and doing whatever you're doing with somebody else. And the guys at the next table, they don't care about you. They don't care if you're with a girl that's a lot younger than you. They don't care if you're talking to another guy. They don't care if you're talking politics. They don't care nothing. The Filipinos, they're interested in their world. Your business is your business. That's your life. And they worry about their life. And that's a great way to be. I wish everybody in America would keep their nose out of everybody else's business. So I think you need to give it at least 2 months to adjust to living here and the lifestyle here in the Philippines. And also you got to get out of that dollar mentality. You got to quit thinking things only cost $1. When somebody tells you that's 100 pesos, you got to quit thinking, oh, that's only $2. You got to start thinking that's 100 pesos. And your budget, you only have so many pesos. If you have a 1,500 a month budget, you have 75,000 pesos roughly. Pesos, you have to budget it and quit thinking of everything in the terms of dollars. You have to start thinking, is it really worth 50 pesos for me to buy that? Or is that not a good deal? You just have to get out of that dollar mentality. You have to get into the way of life living here in the Philippines and what things cost here in the Philippines. You go to dinner here and you buy dinner and you're looking at the menu and it's 999 pesos. Well, in your head, you're thinking, well, that's $16, $17 for a small steak. That's a good deal. No, it's not. That's a lot of money for a meal here in the Philippines. Maybe for steak it's not, but you can get a nice meal here for 400 pesos, 500 pesos, 600 pesos in nice places. So don't overspend. And tipping is another big thing. You have to get used to the tipping here. Tipping is not something that is required to do. More and more restaurants are starting to add a service charge. Catch that on your bill so you don't tip on top of the service charge. But tipping, I'm not a tightwad, but I'm pretty thrifty. My rule of thumb is if it's 1,000 or less for dinner, I tip 50 pesos. If it's 1,000 pesos or more, I tip 100 pesos, and that's it. And riding in a cab, I let Janet pay those because I always overtip a cab ride. The cab ride's 80 pesos. Janet wants to give them 100 and call it a day. Me, I want to give them 150. So you overtip easily here in the Philippines because you're thinking in dollars and you're not thinking in pesos. And if you have a girlfriend, let her do the tipping for you. She'll decide we don't tip here or we do tip here. It just takes a lot of guesswork out of everything. Let her handle paying the cabbie, paying the dinner bill at the restaurant so you don't overtip. And like I said, the big thing, don't compare everything here to your home country. Don't compare the traffic. Don't compare how people drive here to your home country. We don't want to bring that life from our home country to here. We want to accept this different kind of life. And you have to accept the occasional brownout, the loss of internet, ATMs being out of cash. You have to expect these things. This is just the culture here. It's the way everything is here. This is a developing country. You know, it's not really a third world country. It's a developing country. And as they develop, they'll overcome these problems. Trouble is, they're not going to overcome these problems in our lifetime. So you have to get used to it. You have to adapt to it. Don't bring your views from your home country here either. Don't bring your, I'm first mentality. It's get in line, and when it's your turn, it's your turn. Don't think you're better than everybody else when you get here. Don't think if you have a bigger budget than somebody else that you're better than them. Everybody here is on an equal footing, especially in the expat community. If somebody's acting like they're better than you are, don't hang around that person. Treat everybody equal, treat everybody fair, treat everybody with a good heart, but be protective of yourself. Don't fall for any scams. Those are the biggest mistakes that I've heard of.